So welcome to our Charlevoix recap. It was our first participation to Rallye de Charlevoix. Beautiful setup, beautiful views, beautiful weather. It was great.
Yeah, once we got past Quebec City, the drive was fantastic.
We came there with all our crew. Margaret had an all-female crew for the first time.
Yeah, all-female crew. Only female stage rally driver in Canada, I guess, and my co-driver Jen, and our crew chief Amy Dilks, and then our other two crew from Canada, Leah and Alyssa. Pole Position magazine did a nice write-up on us.
Yeah, so we started with a town stage. We were on gravel tires. We didn't bring any tarmac tires for the. That was the only stage that was 100% tarmac. So we took it easy. It was a morning, cold tires, a little wet section. So we just cruised through. The goal was to survive the first two stages without damaging the cars, and that's what we did.
Yeah, and the real stage rally started for us on Bataram, which we had nicknamed the Batman stage. It was 35 kilometers long, so that was a long stage. And Jen and I didn't have enough time to complete Recce, so we only had one pass on the three longest stages, which was really unfortunate because that was a huge disadvantage for us. But on Bataram, we had a missed note, or we didn't document it well in Recce, and we jumped into the woods over a ditch and punctured the oil pan. We were able to get back on the road and complete the stage. But at the end of the stage, we caught on fire, and when we put that out, luckily Emmanuel was the car behind me, and he helped us just put that out. And we had to drive two more long stages. When we made it back to service, the crew tried to fix it. I think just with some Flex Seal tape initially.
Some epoxy. We had some JB Quick epoxy and some Flex Seal tape, and they tried to put it like we had a spare oil pan. They tried to pull the oil pan out of the car, but it's really hard because you have to lift the engine to access the back bolts that are stuck over the subframe. So they couldn't get the oil pan change in time, so they decided to try to fix the oil pan in the car with epoxy and Flex Seal tape.
Yeah, and we only had two in-town stages that were mostly asphalt, so they sent me out without the skid plate, and we gave a good show for the crowd, and apparently we're the crowd favorites on the Clement stage. But able to get it back to service after that, and we were just pouring oil. So Pablo, one of our crew members, had a great idea to use a piece of hose and a self-tapping screw, and they were able to fix it temporarily. At that time, I was in headquarters, ready to tell them I was DNFing for the day, and was going to try to start the next day on Sunday, when I got a call from Vince Launderville and said, "Where are you? Get over here, they fixed your car." And I was like, holy shit, and just excused myself from headquarters and ran, jumped in the car, and we were only out of service 3 minutes late, so it was pretty awesome.
Jonathan, during our first pass of Clermont, we lost the battery. The battery came off the battery mount in the last corner and shorted on the kill switch, killed all the electrical in the car. And so we just cruised through the finish line with everything shut off in the car. And where the good thing is that we had 45 minutes between the two passes, so we were being able to do roadside repairs to put put the battery back in place and the brackets and stuff, and do a better second pass. And then we did the big loop starting with Bataram, where there was still daylight, and then the two other stages at night. So we already had a good run with Jonathan. We were relearning the cars because we switched back to our 34mm restrictors to be able to score points in the Canadian Championship, and so we're kind of relearning the power band and where to shift and how to drive the car, and we pushed a bit more in that second loop, and we made a bunch of time back. And Bataram was a pretty rough stage. There was a section at the end where they refilled the road where it became very, very rough. So we were smart enough to slow down in the bad section and keep a good pace in the rest.
I mean, actually, there was no choice but to slow down, and I actually downplayed all my turns by one. That's how bad it was.
And at the end of the day on Saturday, actually we were back in fourth overall with Jonathan. So we had already made good progress in the night stages, good pace, and got a lot of time back. Margaret finished sixth. You were sixth or seventh? At the end of Saturday, and so when we started on Sunday morning, the cars media people came, wanted to have our car footage because now we're at the front of the pack.
They wanted your car.
Yeah, they wanted. And so I started fourth on the road with an extra minute of dust, and we really felt like VIPs at the front. And Sunday there were only 4 stages, a very short first stage that was really fun with a lot of spectators, lap tracks. And then we went to the much rougher and longer signal stage. And so we made it through the stage. The end of the stage was extremely rough with a lot of rocks. Even just being at the front of the pack, it was already really rough. Martel, who was in third place in front of us, had a problem with the rear treading arm already, and a lot of people were trying to fix their car. The first car, Mayu had a broken gearbox. He could only drive it in 4th gear and couldn't launch. Behind him, there was in the Fiesta Rallye 3, Bailey, and he had broken a brake line. He was looking for a pair of pliers to plug that. So everybody was kind of limping, and we had been lucky so far and didn't have any issues with the car. And Margaret made it through no problem. And we were in very close competition with Trevor Punier, who was just behind us, and we were able to get 5 seconds on him on the first 2 stages. So we had a good 25-second lead for the 2 stages left. And when we started coming back on signal in the other way, the beginning of the stage was extremely rough. We were slowing as much as we could to crawl through the sections that were covered in rocks. And we arrived on Martel, who broke his front control arm and was parked on the side of the road. So we were like, oh, now we're in 3rd place. And there was a 3rd place curse at Charlevoix. Everybody who ended up with 3rd place ended up having issues and DNFing. And just after passing Martel, or even maybe before, we got a puncture. And so one of the rock sliced the inside of the tire. We tried to run for a bit, and then the tire came off the rim, so we had to pull over. We lost like 3.5 minutes changing the tire and finishing the stage. So we dropped way off to 6th place in the rankings.
And I had my ABS light that kept flashing on the screen, and I kept looking at it to make sure it wasn't my oil light showing up. I kept smelling smoke. And it wasn't until the end of the race, I'm like, oh, that must have been everybody's campfire. But I kept worrying about my car catching on fire and burning to the ground. So I took it a little bit easy, and at the very end, Terry Ebb came over and congratulated me on finishing and coming in third in class. And I'm like, no, that Emmanuel came in third. And he's like, no, you did. I wasn't aware that Emmanuel had a flat tire, so I beat him, came in third in class and fifth overall because of his flat.
Actually, there was a major scoring mistake that nobody saw at Charlevoix. Every minute late, which is usually a 10-second penalty, they only scored a second penalty. So the rankings were kind of affected by that because the penalties were not accounted for properly.
But in nationals, it only affected the two of us getting fifth and sixth overall versus vice versa. So it was okay.
I think we had a great event.
Yeah, we had a great Airbnb. I really liked the 2-day format because we had time to spend with the crew and have dinner together and rest up a bit for the last stages on Sunday.
Yeah. So we'll definitely be back at Charlevoix. It's a great event. You have to drive smart because it's very rough. There was a ton of DNFs. I think 19 DNFs or something like that.
Yeah, only 16 finished out of 35.
Yeah. So.
But overall, we did well. It was our first time there, and it was one of the roughest rallies I think we've been in. And our cars held up, which was great.
Yeah. So it was pretty eventful, but. We had a great event, and we'll be back. And I hope you enjoy the videos. And thanks to all the spectators who have sent us videos. Really, thank you to our crew.
Yeah, the fans were really fabulous at Charlevoix. It was great.
Thank you to Cars, and thank you to our sponsors, Cup Tuning, Kilo B Motorsports, who are already our main sponsors, and Rallye Auto and TurboTech Tuning to help us tune the cars, Subi Solution, Fred, who has always helped us and bring for us. And we had also Demenco, who helps a lot with Demenco Logistics, who helps a lot with our crew and supports us to go to those races.
So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks at Rallye of the Tall Pines, and we are planning on getting cars licenses for 2023 and competing in the regional championships.
Yeah,
Ontario,
so we'll
Quebec.
do a whole season in cars. We won't be competing in the US anymore. Thank you. See you soon. Bye.